welcome to another episode of Yarn Talk with Princess Tigerbutton. As you might say, things look a little different here. That would be because we are in my house instead of in the car. And we are a little bit yarn adjacent. You see there's some yarn in that bookcase there. So we're working on it. This gives us a little bit more space and a little more freedom to be able to make content and not be so crammed in behind the wheel. It's been a few weeks.
It has been.
It's been a few weeks. Life has definitely been lifing for us. What have we done in the last few weeks? The last time we were here was right before the last show we did at Emerald Square Mall before Valentine's Day.
Yes.
I would have had that video up for you because that was actually one of our best events to date. But my youngest son, Zachary, was going to be doing some guest editing for us. And he's been a little backed up with life and schoolwork and whatnot since he's going to be graduating high school this year. And so it's going to be a little bit before I can get that up. I may just string up what I have together and get that going. 2 weeks ago, we had two events back to back, one of which was kind of a last minute thing. We were at the quarter auction.
Yep.
As we expected, that was a very small event. I actually really didn't even take any video. We were, running around, getting ready for it. We got down there, and it wasn't so bad. Like, directions were good. We actually got there a little quicker than we expected. They had some high school volunteers that were getting, what I found out is in Rhode Island, or at least in the area of Rhode Island where this was taking place, high school students are required to have a certain amount of community service hours. Definitely a lot more than we did when we graduated here in Mass. So they had some high school students that were volunteering to help out and getting their hours in there too. So we had some extra help getting in the church and getting stuff in because we were in the basement. And so they had this really rickety elevator.
Super sketchy elevator.
It wasn't even a fully enclosed elevator. It was literally just a lift, so like you could put someone in put someone in a wheelchair, and it wasn't fully enclosed. It was like in a shaft, but the actual elevator car was not enclosed. But it was perfect for being able to pull in a wagon of stuff and send someone down with it. So between the help with the high school students, we were able to get our stuff down and get set up. It was pretty tight quarters. We were really, the tables were all up against the walls of the hall. So we didn't have to stand behind our table. And everybody was more or less touching. So there wasn't a whole lot of room to spread out. We had 6 feet there. And we put up our cubbies and just filled it up with plushies. I got to admit, we had a pretty full display compared to some of the other people. We came with a lot.
Yes. Because we didn't really have to sit behind it, so we could just make a whole wall.
Yeah, we didn't have to make a window in our cubbies or anything to look out from behind. We were able to just fill the whole thing up like a big bookcase, and we did. There was a lot less time for selling than we expected, and we should have known this from when we went before, but I guess I didn't realize just how little time there was for selling.
The last time she gave a lot more breaks for for people to shop. This time it was maybe one time she said, we're going to take a
we had one intermission, and it was like a quick 10 minutes, and then we were back in it. That really didn't give a lot of people time to look around. You're right. I feel like the last time the intermission lasted a lot longer.
But this time she's like, you can stop and get food. And it was and then we're back already.
Well, we had a lot. I'm trying to think. Do we have more people this time or less? I can't tell because the tables were orientedly differently.
And then we had lengthwise. I don't know.
Yeah, we had long spread out tables.
I think we have more people, but not a lot of people stayed.
No, afterwards. They came for the bingo and they came to win stuff. They were on a mission. There was a lot of people there that came with their own daubers and their own little bags with little daubers all around and like
hardcore bingoers.
There's people buying like 5. Yeah, one lady bought like 5 tickets. So she spent $50 to get in. So she had 5 bingo cards, which is like 3 squares each per game. So that's 15 tries. I just did the math on that. 15 tries per round is what she had. No wonder she kept going up there and saying she had a bingo. And so we had a lot of multiple winners every round. And so they all had to come up, verify that they had the bingo. And then they did a little drawing. They used the little chips from our quarter auction paddles And they just were like, okay, whoever has the highest number out of 2 or 3 people, or whoever has the lowest number, that kind of thing. So I think that ate up a lot of extra time.
It
We
did.
didn't have so many duplicate
No,
winners
we had none.
last time.
I think we had 1, maybe 2.
Yeah.
But there's like 6. So many.
Yeah. And I don't think they were prepared to give out multiple prizes at that point. Because, the prizes for each bingo round was a voucher to spend with the vendors. In the first few rounds, it was like $10, and there was a few that were $15, and I think someone got $25. They didn't spend it with us, but that was definitely, I really like that idea because it definitely does kind of put the interest back to the vendors. And gives us a little more attention, because I think without that, if they had done like we had to donate more prizes, or if they given cash prizes, people would have just bounced and they wouldn't have even looked at us.
I think you're right. I think it was tied up with a lot of those bingo verifications and tiebreakers, so it really bogged down the time to shop.
Well, we also had some of those quarter auctions. We had a lot of quarter auctions this time. People were not bidding as much as they did last time. Last time, people were putting the whole $1.50 in right away, and this one there was a lot of people weren't bidding as much. So as the numbers were being called, if you say we got 6 paddles each, so if you didn't want to spend $1.50 on a bid, you put in 75, you're only going to pick 3 of your paddles to hold up in the air, and only if those number paddles are called do you win. So if your number's called and it's on the table, you had to say not in play, on the table, and they would draw another number. And we had a few rounds where they drew multiple times before a number that was in play was drawn. And I think a lot of that ate up extra time too. So that's why I think we had a little less time to shop than normal. We did get one sale, straight cash sale, and someone bought a drift, and that was cool. And I really do think we came out good on the voucher game too.
Yeah,
now that we had at the end of the event, at the end of the event, you turn in all the vouchers, and they were going to pay us what the vouchers were worth. And we ended up having one lady that bought 2 possums. She had $35 in vouchers, and she spent 30 of it on 2 possums, and told me to keep the change. So here I am with $5. And there was another young girl that had won around, and it was a Girl Scout. She was actually had her own table at the event selling cookies. So I told her that we could use the extra $5 to add to her 15. So she now had $20 to spend. She was hemming and hawing. She wanted something from our booth, and she couldn't decide. And then I decided, since I was a Girl Scout back in the day too, I gave her a little extra $5 to spend. So I let her spend up to $25, and she ended up getting a cat. So we ended up doing pretty well there between the cat, the drift, and a couple of possums. But that was it. There really wasn't a whole lot of time for anyone else to come by and look and actually want to shop. We had a lot of good response. People were happy to see us, but it didn't really get a lot of time to do more transactions. So we made our table fee back, since the table fee was only $25. We actually made 3 times our table fee, but I don't think most people would consider that a successful show. Especially because we weren't there for very long. There was a lot of time for setup. Breakdown was easy. We just kind of just threw everything in bags and left.
We're definitely getting better at breakdown.
Breakdown is
setup
easy.
Is still getting better. I think we're doing
breakdown is easy because we just snatch up all the signs. Those go in one bag, and then the plushies just get thrown in a bag, and then break down the cubbies.
Yeah.
So we've got that down pretty simple. But I don't know. I had a lot of fun there. Regardless of the fact that we didn't make a lot of money, we obviously we didn't lose because
it's a fun environment.
Yeah,
I like being a participant in both rounds. Even if we don't sell a lot, we still get to have a little.
Yeah,
bit of fun.
We got a chance to win a prize. We got a chance to play some bingo. They were a lot of fun. They've been great.
More enticing than being able to win something for 25 cents.
They've been really great to work with too, as far as organizers go. This is the same the DPNA, which is Downtown Pasco Neighborhood Association, and these are the same people we worked at our Victorian Market last December or November. It was Black Friday weekend, and they were really great to work with. They really anticipated everything that we needed, and so we've been happy to do this event. We are going to be back there in Pasco, Rhode Island, on the 28th of this month for their Easter fair. They're going to be doing egg hunts for the kids. They do it in a way that really is very inclusive, and that I really like that. So rather than having eggs hidden everywhere, so only like, like the most astute and the fastest kids that can grab them all quick are going to win prizes, they kind of limit it. They're going to put baskets of eggs out with all the vendors, so we'll be able to hand out eggs to everyone. And they also have a bunny shop where they allow the kids to come in and pick out some prizes with their eggs, regardless of what they grab. And so that allows for not only for small babies and toddlers to play with their parents, it also allows for folks with special needs who may not be able to run quickly through a field and grab eggs to also come and get prizes and have an equal opportunity to their counterparts that are more able-bodied. So I really liked the lengths that they go to keep everything fun and inclusive for everyone. And so I had asked Alyssa, their coordinator, if they would like some donations for the bunny shop. And of course she said, yes, we would love that. So I'm going to be, not only am I going to be having my table set up to sell, I'm going to put together a little basket of some of the small makes and a little variation here and there, things that I can put together quickly to give her a little variety of toys that people might like to pick from. And I figured I would include some that don't have safety eyes, so that allows for small toddlers and babies to have something safe compared to other toys and prizes. So hopefully that will go well, and I'm hoping that our good karma will also lead to some good sales. It should be a good day. It'll be better weather. It'll be a very family friendly event, so we'll be bringing all our toys, and hopefully we'll sell some. In terms of events,
And
actually,
then that next day event after that.
Yes, let's go back in time. So after the quarter auction on Saturday, what day was that? 28th? Yes.
Yeah, I believe so.
The next day, March 1st, we did a last minute event at the Plain Ridge Casino in Plainville, Mass. I originally hadn't signed up for this event because I thought I had read on Facebook that they were full up on crochet. So I didn't apply, but with the same organizers, I had applied for an event on April 4th. And it just so happened that they were advertising for the event on March 1st and had gone to the bowling alley here in town where my sister is a manager and asked to put up flyers. And so she talked us up and showed the event coordinator our Instagram and told them that, everything we do is handmade. And so they were really excited, and he said to her that they still had spaces open and encouraged me to apply. So I did send him an email and filled out an application, and they got back to me and they said, yeah, please come on down. And so we did, and we paid the fee, which was a little pricey. If I remember, I want to, yeah, it ended up being $100 for a 10 by 10 space. So that was a lot, and I'm really kind of disappointed with the turnout. First of all, it is in the function space on the second floor of the casino, and I think that right there is a lot of problems. They had signage outside, they had digital signage inside the casino, both coming to and from the gaming floor and from the racing entrance, because it's also a horse track during obviously better weather. And so there were plenty of signs and things that there was an event going on. And it looks like they did advertise on a lot of local pages and places, and they were putting up flyers. So they did their part to bring people in. But I think the fact that it's a casino, your first thought isn't going to be to bring my kids. No. That it's going to be a family-friendly event. But if you go in the racing entrance, you don't have to cross the gaming floor, so you don't have to be 21 plus. So kids could come. But we didn't see many. But the weather was also kind of gross. We had just dug ourselves out of blizzard of 26. And I think when people woke up Sunday morning and saw it was gray and flurrying again, they were just like, nah, and stayed home. And so turnout wasn't that great. So, but, and it's really no fault of the vendors because, Patrick was great. Vicky was away. But Patrick was great. He was very, very knowledgeable. He had answers for all our questions. He was pretty organized, so we had no problem getting to our space. We had everything almost set up. We tried a new layout, and I'll put some pictures in here too as well in terms of...
I really like the layout. I gotta say,
for our first time in a 10 by 10, we tried a Z shape. So we had one table up front, and then another table perpendicular to that, and then another table facing back. So if you're looking at the front of the table, so you have a big table and you have two tables like this with one in between. So I felt like that gave us a little bit more flow for people to walk around instead of like, the typical U shape where people come in and then once you get a couple people in there, other people walk by and don't feel like they can come in. And we don't always get those people coming back. So I've been looking for a way to increase traffic into our 10 by 10 spaces. And so I like the layout, I like the flow, but no sooner did we get everything set up, our next door neighbor vendors came in and they were all 3D printed crap. Now, if you hear them tell, there is some artistry there. They sand everything down, they hand painted all these things.
There was some hand painted stuff.
But the hand painted things were like busts almost of like Marvel characters and things. So like we're talking IP infringement. And they had all the articulated dragons and all the little doodads that you push them together and then they twirl around to one another like little mechanical doodad. I like the word doodads lately.
Doodads.
But it was one of those things that, and this is the same thing that happened to us on Mother Brain, that when we were next to the 3D printed stuff, we got ignored. I'm sorry, my crochet plushies don't dance. They don't twirl around. They don't do anything weird. And people were just literally walking. They set their table up in a U shape. So if this is where their U shape was, this leg of the U butted up against our space. And so people were walking in to shop this table while standing in our booth. And they were just completely oblivious to the fact that they were in our booth. Didn't look at our products, didn't look at anything. Here I am trying to engage. We're greeting everyone that walks by, and it was just really disappointing to be completely ignored for people beelining for the 3D printed table. And it's like, okay, no shade to them. You make what sells. People want 3D things and they buy it. So, I mean, of course you're going to provide it. Whether, and a lot of people consider it slop. I feel like everybody complains about crochet and you see the same things at everyone's table, but I really think you see the same things at everyone's 3D printed table, unfortunately. Very few tables have I seen that had really unique stuff. And the ones that do definitely stand out and they make good money, but there is a lot of people that just are, I don't know.
It's the same stuff, different color schemes.
Yeah. And like, I don't want to knock it. I mean, it's the same thing. Like I always say, like, yeah, I could stop making crochet chickens, but people keep buying them. So I'm going to keep making them. I do like to make things that are fun and make me happy to make, but people keep buying my chickens. I'm going to keep making chickens. And I noticed that people don't buy chickens for themselves.
No.
They always buy them for someone else. Literally, everyone comes in and they go, oh, my friend loves chickens. Or, oh, my mom loves chickens. So everyone comes in and buys chickens for other people. Is that like a rule? Like chickens must be gifted?
I've not noticed this since.
And it's so weird. But, hey, as long as people keep buying them, I'll keep making them. But at the same time, like, I don't know if it's just because their stuff is so flashy and they have demonstrations of all the little things that move and connect to one another that it's easy to overlook stuffies right next door.
It's all fidget toys.
Because we've been in other events that had 3D printed stuff at a table, and if we weren't next to them, we did fine. Like in fact, the people that were next to us at Mother Brain were also at Ocean State Card Con in December.
But we were separated.
Yeah, we weren't next to them.
Usually we do really good if we're not near something like that. But I can't really say that because when we were at the mall last time, not the card show.
That was the one exception to the rule. We were literally right next to the kiosk that had Labubus, and he also had some 3D printed stuff.
And we killed it.
I didn't see much of his, if any, of his 3D stuff sell. He sold some Labubus because it was right before Christmas. And I did see people looking at the 3D printed dragons, but then they were coming to our booth. So, right next, we were like literally physically right next to his kiosk. I almost got in fisticuffs with this guy because he thought we were too close. And
the guy ended up being cool. But I think the fact that he had a mixture and it wasn't just 3D print, the ones we don't really do awesome right next to is when it's all 3D print. And
at the same time, I expected the Labubus to sell right before Christmas because it's the hot toy. And Emerald Square doesn't have Pop Mart, doesn't have Miniso. No. So it didn't have stores that sell Labubus regularly. And we don't have Newbury Comics or anything anymore either. So there really wasn't anywhere else selling them but his cart. So I expected those to sell, but I was upset at first because I thought that was going to hurt our sales, and it really didn't.
No, it actually helped, I think.
Yeah. But when it's a table full of 3D printed stuff but he was on his phone all the time. He wasn't as attentive.
He was gone.
So if he had things like the ones that the other tables had where they had things that interconnect and like spun around on each other, fidgety stuff like that, if they were demonstrating, I think it would have been different.
Yeah, like I said,
I think it's the engagement and the demonstrating. And I'm sorry, I can be engaging, but my plushies don't dance. They don't do things on their own. Like, there's only so much I can demonstrate and engage with. And that was the other thing. Not only did we have the 3D people next to us at this show, across the way, like across from the 3D people,
that's so irritating.
There was a mom and daughter duo. And by mom and daughter, they're probably both older than me. And I'm 41. And one of them had an MLM. She was selling Magnabilities, which is basically magnet jewelry. So like you buy a chain, you can get all these different little charms to put on it, and it connects with magnets, and you can mix and match. But she was also selling like dip mixes, like box dip mixes. I don't know if that's another MLM brand or she just randomly had them. And then she had her mom with her that was also selling like dog sweaters and had crochet, had dog sweaters, hats and stuff. But the younger lady, she had one of those voices that just carries, and she was just loud and engaging with anyone that came within smelling distance. She was drawing them all in with the dip. So like, it was really hard, especially for us being, shy ADHDers and mostly introverts, or at least I'm an introvert. It was really hard to compete with that right in our space.
It was.
So it was just a rough day. We didn't even make our table fee back. We made like $40.
Yeah, it was
and
rough.
I was really disappointed. Now the lady, the wife of the 3D printed people, asked me how I did, and I told her, I said I didn't even make half my table fee, and she says they didn't do very well either. And I'm going to be honest. I mean, I saw they made some sales, but I didn't see how much the prices were, and it didn't seem like they got a lot of looks and not a lot of sales for how many people were coming through. So maybe they didn't do that well either. And I think they ran into the same issues that we are.
They said that. They said they were geared more for kids.
Right. And it's the same thing as us. We are both in that same target audience. So this wasn't a good fit. That's why I was really antsy about the fact we are going to be back there on April 4th in the same venue. I'm trying to do my part on social media in terms of advertising people and reminding them that they can bring kids, that they don't have to cross the casino floor to get there. And hopefully that will help. The weather will be a little better. They're going to have Easter Bunny, and it's to raise money for the Doug Flutie Jr. Foundation, which does a lot of work in our community for autistic individuals in terms of providing grants financially and opportunities that wouldn't otherwise be available to them. So I'm hoping that's going to create a better turnout, and that we'll be able to do a little bit more. We might tailor our offering a little bit more instead of bringing just toys, and bring some of the things like the dishcloths and stuff like that, because it's definitely kind of an older crowd that was coming through. And so if it is going to be mostly adults, I want to have something. We
know kind of the customer base. We might.
Yeah, we have a whole 10 by 10, so we can definitely split up our offering a little bit this time around and offer some other things, and hopefully that will help, and we'll be able to at least make our table fee back on that. I didn't pay $100. No, yes, it was $100 for a 10 by 10 in this one too. So hopefully we do well there. But before that, we are going to be this weekend back at the mall with cardboard promotions for the card show for March. And hopefully we can recreate some of the success we had last month. We don't have Valentine's Day to deal with, but it is definitely going to be a packed house. They're touting something like 272 tables.
That's a lot.
It's they take up the whole first floor of the mall. So I'm hoping we get a little bit of a better placement in terms of location this time. But I still have a pretty good feeling that either way, they're going to spot us. So we're going to do the same thing we did last time. We're going to build tall with the cubbies and go high enough so that people can kind of see us over the crowd, and put those showstoppers up on the top row. I think that helped a lot this time. And we'll do our best.
Mm-hmm.
our best to attract. And that's going to be a little bit more close to our crowd because you get a mix of people that are there for the card show and you get a mix of the people that are just there shopping at the mall. And it was a good time last month, and I'm hoping with a little better weather that it's going to be the same thing this weekend. And then next weekend we will be back at the mall on Saturday with a different organizer, just on Saturday afternoon. And that one we have 2 6-foot tables for, and we're going to bring not just toys there too. That was the same people we did right before Christmas, and we did very well at that event as well. So the mall is for a mall that's supposedly dead. We've been doing very well there so far. So knock on wood. This is not wood. That our luck continues. And then the weekend after that, we will be back. We will do the Easter show in Pasco. And then the weekend after that, we're going to be back at Plain Ridge. And then what else are we doing in April? I suppose we have the 11th and 12th open if we really want to go back to the mall again.
When is the Western Mass one?
Western Mass Con is our first convention of the year. That is going to be at the end of April, the 25th and 26th, out in Springfield. So good opportunity for people out in the western part of our state, eastern New York, stuff like that. Hopefully we'll see some different crowds there. I am still really nervous about this con. I don't know how it's going to play out. It is a first annual. I imagine it's a huge undertaking to run a convention. So I don't envy the organizers as much as I've been bitching and complaining for months now. I don't envy their job of trying to put all this together and trying to get talent. And they've added a few more voice actors. We're not talking big ticket people here. This is definitely probably not something that they have a lot of funds to be able to bring in big talent, say, compared to like Rhode Island Comic Con.
I don't think it's the funds. I think they have to promise these people, from when I worked at cons before, they have to promise they're going to get X amount of sales.
So it's like being a vendor or an artist alley. You're going to make sure that you've got enough foot traffic coming in to make your money.
Exactly.
And so if you say, oh, there's 100 people going to come, are all 100 people going to want to buy autographs or photo ops with you?
Exactly, yeah.
And if so, and then you got to think about it, if it's a smaller con, you can't charge premium pricing because then people are going to turn away. And it's I don't know, a lot of things are riding this. And I hope that we can all kind of make things good enough that it'll continue.
I'm just happy we're not riding the IP bus I've seen people do at conventions where it's plushies of IPs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you said the magic word here. I didn't know whether I wanted to talk about this topic or whether I wanted to make a separate video with my opinions on it. But now you kind of opened the floodgates. Most of you might have seen on YouTube and Instagram lately, the Pokemon and Nintendo company, but Pokemon company has been using Core AI to scrape Instagram and Etsy and other social media looking for IP infringement, particularly when it comes to Pokemon. So these things have always happened. For example, I had a set of coasters once that was Pac-Man, the little coasters with literally with the dots and the maze and the little ghosties. And I had that up on my Etsy. This was back in 2018, and I did get a copyright strike, and the listing was removed, and that was reported by Bandai Namco. So I was in the wrong. I was not legal to sell that back then. And so at that point, that's when I made the decision for myself to stay away from IPs altogether because I didn't want to risk. I'm glad that all they did was take the listing down. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been, I don't want something where I'm going to get sued. But that was all based on the fact that I think I used Pac-Man in the wording of my listing too. So I kind of made it really easy for them to find us. All I had to do was a little Google searching. People have been really coy over the last few years in terms of how they list things, whether it's Pokemon inspired or electric mouse instead of Pikachu, kind of coy things like that. Or especially I noticed it this past Christmas season a lot with the Grinch. That's another big IP that people come after. And there was a whole lot of angry green guy kind of stuff. And, but that too, you're still infringing on the likeness. If I can look at it and reasonably agree that, oh, that's the Grinch, then it still infringes on copyright because you can reasonably infer who it's supposed to be. So inspired by is not fair use. or anything like that. A company is allowed to dictate how they want their products used. And some companies allow for handmade fan merch so long as you're not mass producing it. Some limit you to making a certain, like for example, Minecraft, only allow it, but only if you're going to make like no more than $5,000 in a year on it. So it really kind of keeps to small creators and doesn't allow for mass producing or questionable quality, stuff like that. But a company can say, hey, we don't want our stuff out there, period. And you have to abide by that. Excuse me. Hold on. We'll get to that in a minute. What was I going to say? So in this case, AI has made the searching a little bit more sophisticated. So now we're not just looking at the word Pokemon in your posts, in your listings, but also they're scraping images for the likeness. And the reason why the crochet community is getting up in arms is because they've shut down a couple of Instagram accounts that didn't sell patterns and weren't selling plushies, but just sharing the things that they've made, which does... Nintendo doesn't really have a fan art policy like that, not even a non-commercial one. So it's still, unfortunately, in the wrong. Is it a bad take? Do I personally think so? Yes. I don't mind if they said, hey, you can post it on your account, but it has to be for personal, non-commercial use, because I would still say, yes, you're infringing if you're selling Pokemon patterns, or infringing if you're selling Pokemon plushies. But to not be able to share your art or your drawings or whatever on your account, especially an account that's not monetized, like, I do feel like that's not a good look. But Nintendo and Pokemon are allowed to have their say in how their IPs are used, and we have to abide by that. So I don't feel a lot of sympathy for the creators that have been caught up in this, because of the fact that if you're putting yourself out there in any way, you do have to check. It is our responsibility to check these things before you make those posts. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of people put comments out and talk about this, and some of them are saying, well, making Pokemon or making IP characters is so a big part of what I do. I'm not going to stop distributing my patterns. I'm not going to stop selling my plushies. And these people are basically willfully admitting in recordings and in posts that they're they're infringing on IPs. And I feel like that's going to come back to bite them very quickly, because that's going to be easily found and say, oh, not only did you just post this thing, you were willfully trying to infringe. And I think that's going to lead to a lot more than a C&D letter. So I don't want to touch any of that with a 10-foot pole. That's kind of always been our policy here, is to not do that. So that does make it tough when we go to conventions where people are there to find stuff in their fandoms. So it is going to be a test to see, can we compete with things that are not tied to a fandom, or things that are legal for us to do. Like I mentioned, Minecraft as an example earlier, is they do allow some fan art to be sold under a certain limit. So you could make a Steve plushie and you could sell it.
Yeah, you mentioned
just as long as you're not making 25 or 50 Steves, and you're not making a Steve factory. But it allows for, a little bit of playfulness and to tap into the moment. And for example, Stardew Valley is another one that Concerned Ape, the creator of Stardew Valley, is totally okay with homemade fan merch, as long as it's not being mass produced and it's not inappropriate. Like, no sexy Stardew Valley chickens. But I could make a blue chicken. And I do make blue chickens, as you've seen on this channel before. And so I don't market them as Stardew Valley chickens. But if someone comes up to me and clocks it to be from Stardew Valley, I don't have to be coy about that and pretend that I don't know anything about Stardew Valley. I can say that, yes, it is inspired by that, and be okay and legally able to sell it. And I made a pretty, not a non-exhaustive list, but I did some research into some other animes and shows and games. And honestly, once I made that list, I didn't want to make stuff from any of them. Like, it didn't make, I felt better about the things I have that are kind of on the fringes, but I don't want to make things from a fandom. I just, knowing that even that there were some that are legal for me to do didn't make me want to do them. And I think a lot of it is I don't like to chase trends, really. I mean, you have to do some trend chasing in general, just because it's the way of the beast. But I don't want to be trapped in the only things that sell for me are IPs, even if they are IPs that are legal for me to sell fan art of. And that's the only thing I become known for, because I don't want to get painted into that corner where that's the only thing people buy from me. It's the only thing they expect from me. And now when I think about new products I want to make or new plushies I want to make, I don't want to be trapped in that. So choosing not to do IPs for the most part is pretty freeing and gives us complete freedom to make whatever we want, whether it's patterns we design or patterns that I get from someone else. And I think that gives me the best opportunity to bring things that make me happy to make. And I firmly believe that if you make things that you like making, that shows in your work. And not just in my ability to sell it, because I believe in the work. It's easier to sell. I think that comes through in the quality of the work and the way it looks and everything. If you're happy, it's going to show. And then people are more likely to buy from you. So that's my opinion on the subject. So I guess that was only like 5 minutes. So I suppose I didn't really need to make a separate video for that. But that's where I stand. And like I said, I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for the people that have really been caught up in this drama, just because the fact is, as a business owner, as a social media creator, as a channel owner, these are the things that we are responsible for. And so a little research goes a long way. And other things that we are responsible for as channel owners is brand partnerships. Yay. I suppose you don't have to have any sort of sponsorships or brand partnerships, but we were pretty excited to have an opportunity to get in on the ground floor with Dubby. Dubby makes a powdered energy drink mix, and the big claim to fame is that they don't use any artificial dyes or fillers or any crap like that. That there's no, they give you just caffeine and vitamins with no jitters. It's just powder mixed with water. Probably within a couple of days of this video going out, you're gonna, or maybe already before you see this, you will see a unboxing that we just made from our first package from them. They offered us a tub for free with a purchase. So I bought 2 of these mixer bottles for us to mix our drinks in. And so we made a video where we opened it up for the first time. We made our drinks, we drank it. So far, we like it. The taste is good. This particular one that they sent us for free is retro sherbet. So like rainbow sherbet pops from back in the day, like these little guys here. And that's pretty good so far. So it remains to be seen. We only just opened this up like an hour or so ago. So I can't really say much about the no jitters. So far, so good. But we'll probably be doing some more content with them when we make further orders, or if they send us any other promo content. In the meantime, however, we have been given a special code that we can share with you, and I'll be putting that on the screen. So if you use PTB at checkout, you can get 10% off Dubby for yourself if you want to try that. And you might be asking, Jamie, why do you need an energy drink brand partnership? Why not yarn? Even before we had this business, when I was still working at the garage and everything, we are energy drink people. We drink a lot of them during the days to get us through. And whether it's long hours of work, whether it's long hours of me trying to crochet lots of things before markets, or long hours at markets trying to keep our energy up while we sell things, we're always reaching for a Monster or something like that, or for me, coffee. So finding a solution that costs less and maybe it was a little bit better for us is something that we were excited to try out. And in this case, a tub goes for about $39.99, and so they tout it as being less than $1 per serving, or about $1 per serving, and I would say that's pretty fair. There's about 30 servings in a tub, so it's a little bit more than $1. But when you compare that to $4 for a can of Monster for the same amount of drink, it is definitely cheaper, and you're not getting any artificial colors, you're not getting fillers, you're getting things like beetroot powder and coffee bean extract and stuff like that. It's a little bit more natural stuff. So if these are all things that they're important to you, you can give W a try for yourself, again, using our code PTB for 10% off. So that thus concludes our brand partnership segment.
Yes.
It is pretty good, though, so far.
It has very good flavor, I think. It definitely has that sherbet.
So far, so I am looking forward to, when we have a little bit of money, making an order. They offer a sample pack. I didn't see it for on order. I have to dig and see what the price of the sample pack is. We don't have to do that right now. But I know they were running a BOGO. They've emailed me a few times. So I might be able to get on some deals and see if we can stock up on some more tubs. And when we get new flavors, we'll make some more videos and try them out.
And actually, if they do have one right here. It says, get a 3 free pack sampler on your next order. You add the order starter sample pack 3 pack to your next order and use code free starter to get your free on your next order of $14.99. That gives you 3 little packets of flavors to try out.
Except they don't get to help us out if they use the free starter code. But yeah, bear that in mind too. So that'll hopefully help us out a little bit. We may seek out other brand partnerships in the future that align with things that we do or things that we need. But I'm looking forward to working with Dubby in the future. So that concludes that. Wow, we have a lot to cover. Part of the reason why we hadn't been recording lately is just between things had just been going really crazy for us. Not only did we have that big blizzard that took a lot out of us, both in terms of physically, because we both had to shovel out the driveway with our landlord and, well, my landlord. And, but it was a lot of snow and it was a lot to deal with. And it really kind of sapped our energy just overall. You know, I'm not particularly seasonally affected, but I was seasonally affected by a blizzard. So that and Mark's work schedule has drastically changed at the beginning of March. So we're still trying to iron out what we're going to be doing and when, and how that's going to look for his work schedule, for our market schedule. When am I going to be able to see him in the meantime, since we don't live together. And so it's been a lot of things to iron out, and unfortunately it's gotten in the way of my ability to be able to record and do things. So I'm going to include here, I had made a video for Instagram that I actually forgot to post. That was what I crocheted in 2 weeks, and that was before our last couple markets. So I'll use the power of editing to tack that into this video, and then we're going to show you what we did in the last 2 weeks. Because I got a lot. I have an overflowing bucket here. And I feel like that's almost not even everything. There's just crochet plushies everywhere. Yeah, I totally lost my train of thought. Apologies.
We gotta show the products.
Yes.
Our makes.
Okay, so we have, let me get all these guys together, because there's some in the bottom of the bucket here. So I finally got on the sea turtle bandwagon, and I made a few so far. I used, oh God, I don't remember the name of the website now, but the pattern is Fred the Sea Turtle. So I'll have that in the description. But it was super easy to make. Everything was modular. So you made the head, You made all the 4 flippers, and then you made the shell, and then you just crocheted everything in as you close up the body. So that made everything super, super simple. It's going to be really easy to batch make if they do pop off and I need to make a bunch of them. And I used a 6.5 hook for part of it, and some of it called for a little bigger hook, so I used a 7, which is on the big end for me. I don't normally work with hooks that big. And so I think they definitely came out to be of size. Like, these are bigger than the cats, the loaf cats. So I'm going to be trying these at $30 just because they are a little bit bigger. But I'm kind of pleased with how large they came out. Like, they really kind of give you a little bit of a bang for your buck. So I made this first one in, this is Bernat Mystical in Fresh Green, which is not the same as Spearmint, but they are really close. And I thought it was a skein of Spearmint, but it was not. Surprise. The shell is Loops and Threads Demi Pearl in Mango Mint. I was bamboozled by this skein. I bought it online thinking it was going to be a really bright yellow. And it's not. It's definitely kind of a I wouldn't say it's mustardy. It's not quite gold. It's a little bit more green than gold. But it's not a bright yellow.
No.
But it worked pretty well with the screen. So I was pleased to be able to use some of it on the shells.
Definitely looks better.
Oh, yeah.
Brighter on the video than it does in
right,
person.
And it looked brighter on the website when I ordered it because they didn't have it at the store. So I had ordered it online as part of a Michael's order, and I was really disappointed. But I needed to find a way to use this up because I couldn't stand looking at it. I was getting tired of moving it around the bin of yellow yarns.
But these are cute. I love them.
And then I made 2 of those in that colorway, and I made 2 in this colorway. This is Bernat Baby Blanket in Seafoam. And the shell is, I forget what color the shell is. It is Bernat Blanket, but it's kind of an olive-y color, but I don't think it was actually called olive. I don't know if this is like, it's almost like a sage, kind of like a gray-green. But I thought it worked really well with the Seafoam. So, and it gives you kind of more of a traditional turtle. I may make a couple more before our market tomorrow. I might crank out a couple tonight. I might use a little bit of pink and maybe like a variegated pinky purple just to kind of have like because pink turtles always seem to sell for me for some reason. So I always want to make sure I have a pink turtle option handy. And maybe I'll make a white one too. And we can go with that. So next up, I have started restocking our possums since I sold all of those out. I've made 3 so far. This guy does not look like his friends. The gray on this one is Loops and Threads Demi Pearl in Dark Gulf Gray, but it was a partial skein and I didn't have enough to make more than one. So I have a half a possum sitting on my desk. But I found Bernat Blanket in, I'm trying to remember what the color was. Not coal. I can't remember what the colorway is. But anyway, it was a great little dark gray. And it is kind of like a charcoal-y color. So I made a couple more of those. And I had a full skein. So I may crank out, if I have time, I might crank out a couple more of those tonight. So we have more than just 3. But this is the Possum Pattern by Stringy Ding Ding. And this is super, super easy to follow. You start at the nose and you just change colors and end off at the tail. Like there's no trickery, there's no sewing. Everything is just bobbled or puff stitched in. The only change that I make is they want you to forget how they want you. It's kind of a bobble on the feet, but they want you to like crochet in behind it. No, I take that back. They want you to do the feet the same way you do the ears, where you kind of do a couple of double crochets and then in the front loop, and then your next round you crochet gray behind it. And they want you to do the same thing on the feet. And instead I do that as a bobble like I do on the loaf cats. And I thought that was just saved my sanity a little bit, and they look just as good. But what I did do is I bobbled on the front loop, which made them stick out a little bit more. And I may try that on my cats too, just to make those feet a little bit more prominent. So, always learning new techniques. I've just got Oh, hold on. Trying to get into what's in the bottom here. So I made another pink quartz drift to make up for one that I sold. And we made pink quartz cat, loaf cat. And actually I made 2 of those.
Oh.
Surprise.
Surprise.
So what I end up doing is sometimes if I got a skein with me, I will just start just making different random things with that skein until I use it up. So I ended up killing this whole skein of pink quartz. I made 3 more mini cats since I didn't have any in pink quartz. And this color in cats, that's why I made 2 in the big ones too. They sell really well for us. People are always buying. In fact, the Girl Scout bought the pink quartz cat. It's always a popular seller for us. So, and I didn't have any in the minis yet. So I made 3 minis. I made 2 big ones. And then I used the rest of the skein to make myself another hoodie bear. Well, not myself, but I made a hoodie bear with the pink quartz. And I don't remember what color her hoodie is, but it is another burnout blanket in like a mauve rose color. It might be terracotta rose. I don't think I have the ball band anymore. But yeah, I thought that would be nice to have like a little pink option that isn't necessarily like in your face pink, something a little more muted. And that mystical is super soft, so it gives her a really nice texture for bears. So I may pick up some more burnout mystical in different colors to make bears with. That is a really nice option. Speaking of using up skeins, I feel like I can never make enough frogs.
Froggies. I
can never make enough frogs. They sell really well.
They're super cute.
And at $5 a piece, they're definitely... I'm still profiting at $5 a piece. They really don't take that much yarn at all. But they sell really well for us. And I don't know, just looking at a pile of frogs just makes me happy for some reason. These are all in that same Burnout Mystical Fresh Green. And I thought that'd be a nice option to put into our frog bags. I have some other scraps of balls of different greens that I'll probably make some more frogs with just to keep keep a variety.
You had would probably make a nice frog too. This one.
Oh, I have a little bit more of that, yeah. And it's not a lot of the things that we make frogs with also make good pickles, but I haven't made any more pickles lately. No. They've been kind of slow selling for us. But who knows? That may be more popular when we get to some of the bigger festivals later this year, because they did sell a bunch before.
Oh, yeah, did.
So, I have a whole bunch of axolotls. I finally got on the axolotl train, and I've made some axolotls. And this is the pattern from Knotting Hook Crochet. And I can't take credit for this or the color combinations. Katie, the Celestial Homebody, used the same pattern and color combinations to make them into Minecraft axolotls. So I did the same thing. And again, this goes back to what we were discussing before. I can make these and I don't have to market them as Minecraft axolotls, but people are going to recognize the color combinations and I don't have to be coy about it if they ask me if they're meant to be Minecraft. I can say yes. It can be whatever you want it to be. But I made these 4 different colorways. With the exception of the white one, these are all Loops and Threads Demi Pearl. So the pink one, which is kind of the classic axolotl pink, this is barely pink for the body and pink lemonade for the accents. And I've actually made... Where's the rest of them? So I made 4 of those, and I have a partial one in my room because that's how much I had on the skein. The blue is, I can't remember the color. I want to say this is Baltic Sea, is this light blue. And the purple, I want to say, not lilac. Maybe it's lilac. It's some sort of purple. And I actually was able to get 5 of those out of 1 ball. So it goes to show you that not every yarn ball is created equal. So I was able to get 5 of those out of that. this gold color. The body is Mojave Desert. Again, it's Loops and Threads Demi Pearl. And I only had a partial skein of that because I had made a hoodie bear out of that same yarn. So I was only able to make 2, and I have a half of one in the other room. The gold is, I originally thought I was going to be able to use the Mango Mint as the accent on these, but it was not gold enough. It was definitely a little more chartreuse, and that just looked off. So this is actually Tawny Olive is the colorway on that. And that looks pretty good, but I only have 2 of the golden ones. And then the last one, I was able to make, I made 4 so far. I could make a few more, but I don't know how popular these are in Minecraft, but they did have some white ones. And so the white is actually Bernat blanket or Bernat baby blanket in white. And the pink is Loops and Threads Demi Pearl in Cashmere Rose. And so I had Googled what all the Minecraft ones look like, and the pink that went with the white wasn't as bright and in your face as the pink axolotl, so I wanted to use a different shade there. And I'll probably make use of that pink for other things too. In fact, that was the same pink that I used for the noses and tails of my possums. My first batch, I used the Loops and Threads Demi Pearl in the pink lemonade, and that is like really almost neon pink. And I thought that was a little too bright, so I think the Cashmere Rose was a better call for that. And last but not least, I've made another big plushie. Since my other Maisie Mouse from the Celestial Homebody sold, I have made another one, only this time instead of Christmassy, nutcrackery vibes, we are going with a little bit of a softer pink ballerina vibe. Her leotard is Bernat Baby Blanket in Pretty Girl, which is a nice pink, purple, white variegated. And her tutu is also Bernat Baby Blanket in, I'm trying to remember what the colorway is here. It might just be baby pink. But as you can see, I gave her a little bit longer skirt. Like the pattern only calls for a 2-row ruffle. But I want to give her a little bit more of a skirt where she's got such a fun leotard. And I used the same baby pink on the shoes. This time, instead of sewing, she calls for embroidering on the crisscrosses onto the foot. And this time, and I did that last time, but it felt a little weird. So this time I just took a long length of yarn and I attached it at the back of the feet, crisscrossed it by hand, and I tied a regular square knot at the top and then tied the bow. So if this comes untied at all, it's not going to completely unravel. You can just retie the bow. But I thought that little detail just looked a little bit more natural and fun. I didn't give her a bow this time. I wasn't sure if she needed one. But I'm not saying I can't change my mind and add a bow. But I'm pretty happy with how she turned out. I really enjoyed this pattern. And we did sell the original one last month. And so hopefully this one will sell pretty soon too at one of our upcoming spring markets. I really enjoy the Snuggle Sprites patterns from the Celestial Homebody. I've said this before, that she is really a crocheter's crocheter in terms of how well written the patterns are and how easy to follow they are. She, the right amount of pictures in the right places to show you what you need to do. If she can crochet an arm or a leg or another feature in rather than having to sew it on, she does it. And that definitely makes things a little bit easier, especially if you're tackling a large plushie, and kind of takes out some of the anxiety from some of these patterns. I'm no shade to people that are doing a great amount of sewing. There are some plushies out there that are miles beyond anything that I can do. But this definitely gave me a little more confidence to move into bigger pieces. And she also has some other animals in the series that I will look forward to adding and trying out as I find the time. So that's all I have today for makes, and we've already kind of caught up on events and what we're doing. The only other things we got going on right now is we're hopefully just trying to make some money. I mean, it's been a slow winter season so far, so hopefully things will change now that the weather's changing and we can get some money back in the business to be able to do the things that we want to do. I know we need to get a new tent this year. We had thought about looking into maybe a couple of director's chairs, and I couldn't believe how expensive those are. So something we have to budget for, But the biggest decision we're making right now is whether or not to open our own website. I know we've touched on this before, but pardon me, I apologize. But I'm getting to the point where I really have to make that decision soon before we get into, because I need to order new business cards, and we're going to be heading into convention season. So I'm really deciding whether, if that's something that we want to do, then I want to be able to do it now, get it set up so that when we start handing out business cards and QR codes and whatever thing, we can get right traffic to our site. And I want to be able to have time to get everything up on there and be ready for connecting with people. I've weighed kind of my options on this. Like I'm kind of waffling back and forth between Squarespace and Shopify. I'm leaning towards Shopify just because it seems like it's a little bit more powerful, and I've heard some pretty horrific things in terms of Squarespace's customer service, and they kind of turned me off a little bit. The only downside is if we went to Shopify, I would need to buy a separate... I apologize. My family is cooking in the other room, and I think they just set the alarm off. We're fine. It's just our smoke alarms are a little touchy. But what was I gonna say?
Just have to cut all this out.
Right. Anyway, so as far as cost goes, I think they're pretty comparable in cost. The only thing that I worry about with Shopify is a lot of people say that they need, not only would I need to buy a separate POS if I wanted to seamlessly keep my inventory between online sales and in-person sales. I'm okay with foregoing that for now. I don't think we're so big that I can't just manually adjust inventory totals and continue to use Square at in-person markets. I don't necessarily think I need to buy a whole nother thing for that. The only thing that we're worried about with Shopify is that a lot of different things that you want to do with your Shopify site, you have to buy and subscribe to separate apps. So you pay a fee for Shopify, but then you might pay a fee to subscribe to this app that does something for you or that app that does something for you. And I am really leery about adding too many things and then watching that cost go really high.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I have to do a little bit more research to make sure that, at least on the online sales, that I don't need to add a whole bunch of extra subscriptions just to make sure that sales tax from out of state is being handled properly. Like, for example, right now, Etsy does all that for me. The only thing I have to handle is Massachusetts sales tax. I don't want to get to a point where now I have to worry about, I'm getting this order from Milwaukee, so I need to make sure I collect Wisconsin sales tax, because every state has their own rules, and even within states, different counties, different towns have different sales tax rates. So it's not an across the board thing where I could easily calculate. I would have to keep track of 50 different states and territories and whatnot, not saying anything about beyond international orders. So I definitely want a solution that is going to handle that for me outside of my state. But I figure if I'm going to have to drive traffic to my website already, I might as well be doing it for my website rather than for Etsy, so that I'm not just making them money. Because I'm going to be honest, I get like single digit views. Etsy's not doing a whole lot for me in terms of bringing traffic. And yeah, I'm sure some of that is definitely going to be search engine optimization. Maybe my descriptions and my pictures are not on point or whatever. But I feel like this used to not be as much of a problem years ago as it is now. I feel like it's definitely gone downhill in terms of how we're seen. And so if I'm going to work hard to keep promoting my site, I might as well be promoting PrincessTigerbutton.com instead of PrincessTigerbutton.etsy.com. And when people go searching for our items, they're just going to go to Etsy.com and search and end up in someone else's store. And Etsy makes money, and that's how they bank on it. But because they know you're going to come to Etsy for handmade things. And I think for a lot of small creators starting out, that is not a bad thing. You can benefit from what Etsy's already built. But now that we're in a position, I think now that we've been established, I've been on Etsy for 10 years. It's time to start kind of thinking about doing a little bit more for myself in terms of my business and branding and how we're going to move forward. I'm not expecting to blow things out of the water. And I think a lot of advice that works for other types of businesses in terms of scale just doesn't work for handmade businesses. Like, there's a limit to how much I can scale up and how fast I want to grow. But I do want to grow. And I think having my own domain and website is a good step in the right direction. Even if initially that's going to be a little bit more cost prohibitive and take a little bit more effort on my part. So that's on the docket, is making the final decisions on the website. And once that's come together, I will make a video. I will make posts. You will see all about it. And while we're on top of convention planning, the other thing I'd like to do is consider ribbons. Badge ribbons. A big part of convention culture is making little ribbons that have like a little little piece of tape on the top, and then you tack it onto your badges. And it looks like some places have panels and things where you can just trade ribbons with other people. And a lot of vendors might offer them for a certain amount of spend in the shop. And so I thought we could go that route, and that we could make like a little orange, like Princess Tigerbutton one, for people to get if they spend a certain amount of money. Or maybe I can make one with a little cat if they buy a cat. You know, something fun that also, you know, obviously involves being in our booth and getting sales, but something else that, you know, adds a little fun to the convention. I've been doing a lot of research, because at first I was like, where do I even get these bad ribbons? How are people doing this? And there are companies that will make them. You can DIY them, but I don't have a Cricut. And I'm not going to hand paint all these things. So I will research who I can get them made through. And when I have that done, we'll be showing those off as well. And hopefully that'll help us drum up some more attention at conventions. I think I've covered everything I need to cover. We are over an hour.
Yes.
Look at that.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm going to try my best to get back into the regular posting schedule. I know YouTube does like to promote things that are more consistent. So as far as what that schedule looks like, I'm not entirely sure. We're still going to have to work around Mark's work schedule.
It may not be with me, but it's trying to get him out weekly-ish, I guess.
Yeah, he may not always be there to record with me, and he may not even be at some markets with me with the way his new work schedule. He now has to work weekends, which he hadn't before. We were able, thankfully, to get all of our big multi-day conventions off, so I won't have to miss him for those, but I may have to do some smaller events without him, but we will make it work.
I'll make it work. We'll
do what we can, and that's all we can do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we can call it here for today. As far as what I'm reading, I haven't been. Again, surprise, shocker. I like the idea of books. I like looking at books, but we've been really just so busy, like, with work and door dashing and making stuff for markets and everything. So I've been doing a lot of watching and not reading. What have I been watching lately?
We finished Bridgerton.
Yep, we finished Bridgerton. We're all caught up in that. And
we got the Virgin River.
Virgin River just came out with a new season, so we can start in on that one. And we got Downton Abbey for you to try. I think you'll like that. And Gilded Age might not be coming back till November.
Yeah.
So we've got most of the year to wait for that. But hopefully we can find some things. Maybe we can watch the Queen Charlotte one too. My mom said that was actually pretty good. So, and we still have a few episodes left. I don't think we're done with The Pit either.
No.
There's new episodes coming out still.
3 more episodes, I think.
So, that'll keep us busy for a little while. As far as YouTube shout out, I've been watching... What have I been watching? I've been watching lots of things. So many things lately. But who's standing out the most? I've been watching a lot of Moonbay Crochet. She doesn't do a whole lot of, like... She does some, like, makes videos and stuff, but she does a lot of crochet drama videos. Like, she does some Am I the Asshole style videos. She reads some subscriber submission stories and stuff like that. And so I've been having kind of a lot of fun just kind of listen to her chat about crochet tea while I work. So I will put her logo up here, and we'll link in the description so you can check her out too. And I think we're going to call it here. And of course, I am bad at social media, so I forgot to tell you to subscribe. So if you've made it this far and you have watched me for an hour and not subscribed yet, why? Why are you not doing that? Push the button. Just do it. It helps us out, doesn't cost you anything, and it helps YouTube know that we are worth watching, and we'll show it to more people.
And consider giving W a try with our code.
Yep, 10% off with W.
Get our name out too.
With PTB as the code. And thank you again, and we will see you in the next one. Bye. Bye.